Never explain yourself to people who are dedicated to misunderstanding you. There was a time when I thought clarity would fix everything. If someone misunderstood me, I explained more. If they questioned my motives, I justified them. If tension arose, I tried harder to communicate. I believed that if I just found the right words, the right tone, the right explanation, everything would resolve. Sometimes it did, but sometimes, no matter how clearly I spoke, the misunderstanding remained. And eventually, I realized something uncomfortable but incredibly freeing. Not everyone wants understanding. Some people are committed to their version of you, and explaining yourself endlessly does not change that. The difference between confusion and resistance. Healthy relationships allow space for clarification. Misunderstandings happen. Conversations help. Growth follows. But there is a difference between someone seeking understanding and someone resisting it. When someone genuinely wants clarity, they listen, they ask questions, they reflect. There is movement toward resolution. When someone is dedicated to misunderstanding you, explanations become circular. Nothing shifts. Intentions get distorted, and you leave conversations feeling drained rather than connected. Recognizing that difference protects your energy. I learned this the hard way. For years, I over explained myself. I thought it was a responsibility. I thought it showed maturity. I thought it prevented conflict. Sometimes it was simply fear of rejection, fear of being judged, fear of being seen inaccurately. So I tried to control perception through explanation. But control is an illusion. Eventually, I saw that constant explaining was not creating understanding, it was creating exhaustion. And that realization changed how I approached communication. You are allowed to be understood by the right people. Not everyone is your audience. That statement once felt harsh to me. Now it feels empowering. The people meant to be in your life generally seek understanding, not ammunition. They listen with curiosity, not suspicion. They care about connection more than being right. Those relationships feel different, lighter, more stable. And once you experience that, you realize how unnecessary constant self justification really is. Boundaries protect emotional health. Boundaries are not walls, they are clarity. Choosing not to over explain is often a boundary. It does not mean you lack accountability. It means you recognize when further explanation will not lead to growth. Boundaries say, I will communicate clearly once. I will answer sincere questions. but I will not chase validation or exhaust myself trying to change fixed perceptions. That boundary protects peace, and peace supports mental wellness. Silence can be a form of strength. Silence used to scare me. I worried it meant giving up, losing ground, appearing weak. Now I understand silence differently. Sometimes it reflects acceptance. Sometimes it reflects wisdom. Not every misunderstanding requires correction. Not every opinion requires rebuttal. Not every assumption deserves energy. Choosing when not to speak can be even more powerful. Authentic living reduces the need to explain. The more aligned I became with my values, the less I felt the urge to justify myself. When your actions match your beliefs, internal clarity replaces external validation. You still care about relationships. You still value communication, but you are less dependent on universal approval. And that shift is freeing. You begin living from authenticity rather than perception management. That is where real confidence grows. Let people have their perspective. This was another difficult lesson. You can present facts, intentions, and context, but you cannot control interpretation. Everyone filters through their own experiences, fears, and expectations, and that is human. Allowing others their perspective does not mean you agree with it. It simply means you release the need to control it. That release creates emotional space, and emotional space creates peace. Slay reflection. Let's reflect, Slayer. S. Do you find yourself over explaining to avoid misunderstanding or conflict? L. How does that habit affect your energy and emotional well being? A. Where might a gentle boundary reduce the need for constant explanation? Y. How would your life feel if you trusted the right people will seek understanding naturally? Call to action. Join the conversation. I'd love to hear from you. Have you experienced a moment where you stopped over explaining and chose peace instead? What changed for you? Share your story in the comments. Let's cheer each other on. And if you know someone who needs permission to stop exhausting themselves explaining their intentions, send this to them. Sometimes all we need is a nudge. I'm Carrie Genzel reading a blog from stateofslay.com. Slay on.